for something lethal.
I'm surprised you haven't heard about me. You know, I got a bad reputation, and sometimes I just go nuts like now.
Because the magic is back.
You all right there? Yeah, I'm okay. Where were you, man? You my partner or what? Why didn't you follow me down?
Yeah, man, you follow him down. Shut up, I'm 7 floors up.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another classic action film. Today I'm taking a look at the classic 1989 Lethal Weapon sequel, Lethal Weapon 2. The film is directed by Richard Donner and it stars, of course, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Joe Pesci, Patsy Kensit, Josh Ackland and Derek O'Connor. This time round, Riggs and Murtaugh are chasing down corrupt South African diplomats who are hiding behind their diplomatic credentials and smuggling drugs, guns, you name it, from the US to South Africa. Riggs and Murtaugh are not going to stand for this, and they decide to take them down. Right. What are my thoughts on Lethal Weapon 2? Well, for a long time, this was my favourite Lethal Weapon. I don't know, there was something about this one that to me it just felt, you know, when it felt bigger and better, and I know that's usually how sequels are supposed to go, but this one, in my opinion, really did for a big chunk of the film. It didn't have that baggage of, you know, Riggs being psychotic sort of thing as he was in the first one, the question whether he was suicidal and all this kind of stuff. You know, they are now firmly established as partners in this film, obviously. And this kind of leaned much more heavily into the comedic side. It felt like, and it feels like when you watch this one, like putting on a comfortable pair of shoes or slippers. It's just so effortless to watch. It's beautifully made. And I mean, Richard Donner, God rest his soul, was, I think, one of the most versatile directors that's ever worked. And if you look at his filmography, you'll kind of be like, oh my God, I didn't know he did this, and I didn't know he did that, or, oh God, I forgot he did this, or I forgot he did that. But for me, it almost feels like his crowning achievements is the Lethal Weapon franchise, because, you know, these characters become part of the family when you watch them. I think that's what I enjoy so much about this franchise. They're easy to watch, they're fun, they're exciting, the action's brilliant, and the chemistry between the leads is just so incredible. And you get more of that this time round. You know, you've got Riggs, who is now practically living with Murtaugh. You know, Murtaugh's wife does his washing for him. He cooks chili for them at Riggs. There's a lovely scene in the film where he has that conversation about the night his wife died to Murtaugh's wife. It's you know, they are very much a part of each other's lives, and it's really brilliant to see. And you get, arguably, this time round, you get better villains than the first one, and that's a strong debate, I know. But you've got the late Josh Ackland playing Arjun, the South African diplomat who's hiding behind his diplomatic immunity. But you've also got Derek O'Connor's character as Vorstedt, who is this vicious killer who we learn later in the film is responsible for the death of Riggs' wife. And that really lights a fire under Riggs later in the film. And my main criticism of this film, if you can call it that, and it's more of an observation, is the film becomes very dark. Once the scene where they kind of take out all the police officers in different ways, you know, they blow up the one in the pool, they blow up the guys playing cards, they break into that guy's house and shoot him. And I always remember very distinctly when he breaks into that cop's house and shoots him in the head. I was convinced when I saw it for the first time that was Murtaugh. I was devastated, and I think that was the whole point. I think we were meant to think it was Murtaugh. That's what I've always thought anyway, because you don't really get to see him particularly well, and he sounds a little bit like Murtaugh. So, from that moment on, it gets very, very dark. And then you get the attack on Riggs and Patsy Kensitt's Rika. The death then of Rika, and then Riggs swearing revenge. And you see that look again, he's back. This is the psychotic Riggs that we saw in the first film. And then it kind of almost feels the conclusion to the film. It almost feels a bit rushed, even though there are some absolute high points to the ending of the film. I think the fight between Riggs and Vostet's pretty good. It kind of feels a little bit like there's a little bit of something missing from that fight, but it is still very, very good and enjoyable and very satisfying to see him getting squashed by that cargo trailer thing. And the whole Murtaugh thing, shooting Joss Aslan's character straight through the head, saying it's just been revoked, is great, great stuff. But again, I've got this. I remember watching it for the first time, this film, and being devastated because I was convinced that Riggs was dead. He was going to die. And for those of you that don't know, that actually was on the cards. They filmed two endings here. Shane Black, who wrote the first one and did a draft for this one, wrote an ending where Riggs dies. So Donna decided to film two versions where Riggs does actually die, and on one where he lives. And when they test screened it, the one where he lives was far more popular. Surprise, surprise. So that's the one he kept in the film. But I was convinced that he was dead. And then the way it finished, with the camera just zooming out, and even though they were laughing and giggling with each other, I had this awful sinking feeling. I can still remember it now, thinking Riggs is going to die. And I just thought, it was an odd way to conclude the film. I would have liked, and I think this is the only Lethal Weapon film, when the action and the conclusion ends, you get like, in all the other Lethal Weapon films, you get like a 5-minute clip of them kind of consolidating and catching up and, having a laugh and a giggle sort of thing. And this is the only one where you don't get that. You just get the camera zooming out and then the cheer down music come on. I think the film would have been a better ending if we had got that extra 5 minutes at the end, possibly, to see, even if you saw Riggs in the hospital, recovering from an operation or whatever, and Murtaugh and the whole family turn up to say hello, sort of thing. But again, this is just an observation rather than a criticism. The film overall is incredible. It's funny. The whole station wagon wife thing with Murtaugh is very, very funny. That never really gets old. The bit where he scratches it up against the barriers at the beginning, saying, "Yeah, you were right. There wasn't enough room," is brilliant. Some stuff's very, very predictable. Obviously, you see the nail gun in this film. Now, you've seen nail guns a lot in films since this, but I think this might be the first time I remember seeing a nail gun in a movie, and you just knew that was going to end up in the film later on. And I haven't spoke about here Leo Getz. I nearly called him Leo Pesci then. Joe Pesci playing Leo Getz, who obviously became a mainstay in the franchise, rightfully so. Incredibly popular character, and added to the chemistry between Riggs and Murtaugh. And the three of them kind of looked brilliant together on screen. There were a great comedy timing between all of them, and Joe Pesci just brought something a little bit different to the film, and it was a brilliant, brilliant addition. And they were wise to keep bringing him back in the franchise because he did add a lot, I think. So overall, an incredible sequel, an incredibly popular sequel because it outgrossed the first one by a long, long way. And by this point, the Lethal Weapon films were becoming very, very profitable indeed. I mean, in actual fact, the first one was very profitable. Of course it was. But this and beyond, they just, kept getting better and better in regards to box office returns and stuff. So, yeah. Thanks for checking out this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this review for Lethal Weapon 2. I will, of course, be revisiting the other Lethal Weapon films, and I'm looking forward to rewatching them and giving you my thoughts on those as well. So thanks for joining me.